everyone, it's Annie here at Dee's with a beautiful Magnolia wreath kit again for you. The first one we did was more neutral, and this one has a little bit of like a corally, blushy pink to it in the centers of the magnolias as well as in the ribbon. So if you like a little bit of color maybe for the spring and summer, this one's perfect for you. And this one is a little bit more involved than the first one, so you definitely want to watch the whole video because we're going to use 3 of these really nice magnolia stems. We're also going to use a greenery bush in there as well as this really pretty berry kind of miniature rose stem. It's just going to be nice and bright for all summer long. So we're going to start out though using the first 3 magnolias like we did on the neutral one, and we're going to get those in place first. So you're just going to cut a little bit off of the stem. You do want to leave it a little bit longer so you have enough to push into the grapevine. I'm just going to chop that off, spread those leaves out a little bit, dunk it in a little hot glue, and I'm going right about 8 o'clock on this wreath with the first one. And then I'm ready to do the second one. This wreath's going to be a little bit more bottom heavy, so I'm going to do 2 at the bottom and 1 at the top. This one's going in right about 6 o'clock. I always leave a little bit of a gap so that when we go to add a bow and we go to add that greenery, we have a nice spot for it. And I'm going to go ahead and put the last magnolia in as well up at the top. So the goal when you put this one is you're just going to kind of go directly across from that gap so it balances nicely. Okay. Next up, I'm going to do the greenery bush, and I'm going to save the last one with the berries and the miniature flowers to help fill in. This greenery bush is going to be cut into 2 big chunks. So the first one you'll notice is very obvious. It sticks up a little bit further than the other one. I'm going to go ahead and chop that off, and that's going to go up there to fill in. And then this other bigger chunk is going to go towards the bottom. You're just going to fluff it out really nice and far. And you're going to put it right there in between those where you're going to also put your bow. So cut the stem off a little bit. Put that in the hot glue. Go right into the grapevine wreath, and then you're ready to spread everything out. So like on most of our mixed stems, these are all wired. So you can really put them where you want them to go using that little wire in there. But as you can see, it fills in really nicely. It adds all different textures to this wreath. It's got fern, it's got twigs, it's got leaves. But look how pretty it is. We even have a little bit hanging down too. So I'm going to leave it there for now, and if I need to move it around later, I can just do that. And we're going to go ahead and take that other smaller piece, and we're going to go up towards the top with this one. Since those leaves and that bud went that way, I'm going to push this one in down below it. And then just pull maybe the fern up that way and a couple of the little twigs. So it's definitely a lot lighter up at the top, a lot less full. Okay, next we're going to do ribbon before we fill in with our last stem. This one is going to get a 2.5-inch coral and it's got a little bit of a gray check in it. It's just a really pretty, nice designer quality ribbon. We're going to do that one first, and we're going to start with a bow at the bottom. We're also going to do a bow at the top. So at the bottom, the bow is going to be a little bit bigger. We're going to make 2 loops, and then we're going to go ahead and cut it. Leave this tail a little bit longer. And then on top of that, I chose this ivory and dot stripe. I just like the way it looked with the magnolias, and it also just adds that pop of color that looks really nice all year. We're going to do 2 loops again of that one right on top of that check ribbon. Take your wire and just tie that off right where your hand's holding it. And you're going right there in that gap where you put your greenery in between those 2 magnolias. Like we normally do, we're just going to cut all those little tails and move those around wherever we need those loops. Let's cut this one down here. Okay. I'm going to bring a little bit of the greenery back to the top and definitely make sure you can see that pretty magnolia blossom. All right, now we're going to make the bow for the top. So instead of looping this check one, I'm only going to do a little piece of it so it doesn't get too heavy up at the top. So we're going to use about a half a yard, maybe a little bit longer. And then we're going to loop the striped one right on top. Same 2 loops, about the same size as down there, about a 4-inch loop. But that way you don't have 2 big bows on your wreath. It's just a little bit lighter. So we're doing the exact same thing. We're taking that wire, we're tying that in our hand right where we were holding it, and we're going to go behind the magnolia on this one. So I'm just going to go up underneath of it and twist that around the grapevine. And now we're ready. I'm going to pull that magnolia right to the middle of that bow. And I'm ready to cut those tails. Okay, and I always just step back and make sure I like the way it's looking. I think I turned it a little bit when I put that bow on. Let's see here. Okay, very pretty. All right, now we're ready to add in our last stem. It's just the little accent stem. It also is going to be cut apart and used separately, and it's very obvious. There's 3 sections on it, so when I really fluff it out, you can see there's 1. Then the next one's just a little bit further down, 2 and 3. And the reason I like to do that is because you have more control over where it goes, and you also get a little bit of everything when you chop it apart. So you have the leaves, you have a little bit of the smaller blossoms and the berries. This is all wired too, so you can really open it up, and we're going to use it to fill in. Already just looking at it, I can definitely tell we need something right there behind the magnolia. We're going to do the first one up there. Put a little hot glue and dip it in there. I also like it because it adds another shade of that coral into it. The next piece, I definitely think we need to go up top, right behind the flower up there. I'm just going to open this one up a little bit. Push it into the grapevine. There we go. And then the last one, definitely down here, just to give you a little bit more of the texture down here. I definitely think it needs to be underneath this magnolia. It will help keep the magnolia up a little bit, and it will also add some down here by this tail of ribbon. So we're just going to go right in there. All right, now you're ready to step back, make sure everything is where you want it to be. And you have a wreath for all spring and summer long. This kit for the Blush Magnolia Wreath Kit is also up on shopdeeslouisville.com. Do not miss out. Go check it out now.